What's up? We are live in studio, in person. I am Adam Azer on Fantasy Football Today. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is Monday. We got the biggest rankings movers in PPR in fantasy football for Dave and Jamie, who are right next to me. Hey, guys. Woo, yeah.
It's been a while.
Yes. I haven't been in this studio ever, and I haven't been down here in this office with these guys since before the pandemic, so it's been a while, and it's good to see you.
You look the same.
You guys do too. Dave, what did you call yourself? You're a vampire? Or
I don't know.
something like that.
Fat vampire?
I didn't want to
You
say
didn't want to say the fat
I didn't
part.
want to say it.
It's pretty obvious.
Fat vampire Dave Richard has not aged. JB, what's up?
How are you?
I'm good. I want to know who's moving in the rankings. Who's the biggest rankings mover for you? I know you guys were busy this weekend updating your rankings. Who is the biggest riser or faller?
Are we talking about just as far as like distance in the rankings?
Bijan, from nowhere to 5.
I guess that's a good point.
How about the guy that Bijan's taking over for? Allgeier just fell like a rock for me.
Depressingly so, removed Josh Palmer from my top 200.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but Bijan ended up where for you guys?
5 at running back, 10th overall, 9th overall.
9th overall, and I think 5th at running back for me.
Yeah. So you like him better than – I've asked you this on Saturday, but didn't ask you. You like him better than Pollard?
One spot ahead of Pollard.
Same.
Okay. I asked Twitter.
I hate the Zeke rumor that's most likely going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Weird. That's weird. And that's not good for Pollard.
Bijan Robinson or Tony Pollard, I asked on Twitter, and right now 63% are saying – who do you think?
Bijan. It's also recency.
Yeah, but gosh, Pollard was so
was
good. Even when Zeke was there, he was so good. If Zeke is back with the Cowboys, does he have a much bigger role than Tyler Allgeier does on the Falcons?
No. I mean, Heath illustrated it pretty well that, they're going to get 550 carries out of this team. Yeah. So it's not all going to be Bijan, unfortunately.
All right, so biggest ranking mover is basically the Falcons running backs. Josh Palmer, do you have another name that?
Not necessarily the biggest rankings mover, but I've got a new 101 in PPR. I moved Jefferson down
Michael
because of Addison.
Pittman.
How'd you know? Holy crap! How'd you do that? It's McCaffrey.
Okay.
Yeah, risks and all. Just such a good spot for him.
Why did you move Jefferson down?
Because of Addison being there. His targets are going to go down for sure.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they had to go down.
Way.
They had to go. He had 182 targets last year.
Yeah.
So that number's going to go down anyway.
I don't think so.
And now Jordan Addison's there to take some work away, and it's a full year of Hawkinson.
No, I don't think
He's
so.
not worth the 101. I'll take McCaffrey.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's see.
Now you're still on Jefferson 1?
1,000%.
And then McCaffrey 2?
McCaffrey.
Who's 3?
3 is Cup.
Cup's my 3 as well. So great.
That's interesting. I mean, full year of Hawkinson that, maybe they run the ball a little bit more. They were super pass heavy last year. 184 targets for Jefferson, 107 for Thielen in 17 games. So Osborne had 90 in 17 games, 86 for Hawkinson in 10 games. How many targets for Addison? What do you think?
100.
He's basically replacing
Thielen. 107 for Thielen.
But he's more explosive than Thielen.
Sure. Of course. I would hope so.
All right. If you're not watching, if we're over here, if you're on
he's
YouTube,
lose targets, but he's getting the same as the other guy who just left.
No, we've got a more efficient wide receiver opposite him who can make plays. And
I don't know if he's going to be more efficient as a rookie than what Thielen has been.
Not what Thielen was last year.
I don't know. Thielen was pretty bad last year. 70 catches, 716 yards, 6 touchdowns for Thielen.
Addison's got to be better than that.
I expect him to be better than that. I don't think it's coming at the expense of Justin Jefferson, who's going to be looking for a contract after this year. So
he's getting a contract.
I'm sure.
This year. I don't think he's got to worry about
that. He's going to go nuts.
He could have a down year and he'll still be top 3 highest paid wide receiver.
It's probably fair.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. YouTube.com/fantasyfootball today. If you're not there, please go there. Check out all of our videos. If you hit the live tab, you'll see all of our full shows. You got Heath's Dynasty show tomorrow where you guys are doing a rookie draft, right?
We are, yes.
Okay, so Dynasty draft tomorrow, just a rookie draft. I'm sure there'll be more than that, but you'll see where we're drafting these players as of right now. And if you are watching on YouTube, hit the like button. That would really help us out. Please hit like. We'd appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about where the rookies are ranked. So I know Bijan Robinson is 5th overall for you guys. Let me just make the case for him to be ahead of Saquon Barkley. What do you think about this? So Saquon Barkley.
I considered it.
Last year. Okay, why? I'll go over the numbers, but tell me why.
Because of the uncertainty with Barkley, the fact that he's younger than Barkley, the fact that we've seen these rookies come in and just be absolutely just ridiculously productive.
Yeah.
You know, and so he could be that guy. He's got the potential. He's got the system. He's got clearly the backing of everybody, owner, coach. You know, I can't imagine anybody's going to be upset with Bijan. So would not surprise me by the time we get to August, he's ahead of him.
I can't rule it out. It's certainly a possibility that he'll be better than Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. Because Barkley, what I was going to say is he was RB5 per game last year, but it was kind of a bad year for running backs. You take those same numbers, 17.6 points per game. 2021, he's RB9. 2020, he's RB8. So he'd have to do a little bit better than he did last year, and maybe he could. But you got to think they're going to throw the ball more, right? I don't know if that means good things.
Arthur Smith said that the Falcons are going to throw more.
No, I mean the
this year
Giants.
too. I know what you meant.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell you what Arthur Smith is lying about in his press conference.
Yeah, so I just thought about that. I don't know how Barkley's affected by Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt.
To be honest, I could see myself putting Bijan too.
Wow.
Because Eckler 28.
Sure.
You know, again, uncertainty. Jonathan Taylor, rookie quarterback. You know, last year was frustrating. The whole team. So
question is what role in the passing game does Bijan have?
I don't think it's going to be huge, but I wouldn't rule out 40 catches. You know, I don't think he's getting north of 50 in this offense. But you know, you heard Arthur Smith say slot, play him in slot. You know, there was a report about him being the best receiver in Texas, you know, just in terms of his hands. So, but we hear that all the time, and we get fooled by it every single time. Dalvin Cook's going to play more in the slot.
Yeah,
this guy's going to play more.
That never happens for running.
It never happens to the
almost
extent.
Almost never.
To the extent that, I mean, even McCaffrey, he doesn't play that much, as we've heard. You know, the expectations for. So I don't think that's something you want to buy into. But I do think that it's just makes a ton of sense to put the ball in his hands as much as you possibly can, especially with, you know, an experienced quarterback.
If he gets 4 targets per game, that's probably an upgrade over what the running backs had last year for Atlanta. And so that could be part of what Arthur Smith was saying. Maybe he wasn't lying. That's how they throw a little bit more, is by using Bijan there. Between 40 and 50 catches is totally reasonable for Bijan.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's talk about him. You guys have him 23rd for Jamie, 25th for Dave. This is PPR. I predict he will be higher than this. Yes. I feel like he's going to move up, specifically in PPR. And you know what? I think we'll get into the Eagles situation in a little bit. I think one of the arguments we're going to have, maybe the Bears situation, depending on how you feel about Foreman versus Herbert, is maybe talent versus veteran role, specifically here with Detroit. Because it's been a pretty underwhelming career, I think, for David Montgomery. He's in a very good situation now. Gibbs, I mean, you were just saying someone said they like Gibbs better.
Very close to. Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, I think. A lot of people like Gibbs better than Bijan Robinson. So this guy could be super talented. You guys kept him out of your top 20 for now. Do you both have Montgomery? Oh, back-to-back for Jamie. Gibbs, then Montgomery.
Yeah,
Dave,
I saw
how about
Montgomery
you?
higher.
All right, so let's just talk about this, guys. Gibbs is 23 for Jamie, 25 for you, Dave. How could you see him eventually moving ahead of Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, guys like that?
Of course.
All right, so lay that situation out for me. Like, why is he 25th now?
Because I am probably ranking him closer to the downside and the floor rather than the upside. Because his upside is insane. If we look at his upside, it's he wipes David Montgomery off the field. He's an every down back for the Lions. They use him. We're talking about 4 targets a game for Bijan. We might see 5 targets per game for Jahmyr Gibbs. And if he's getting 12 to 15 carries on top of that, I mean, he's going to be in line to have a huge year if he gets that type of workload. But I'm a little bit worried. They also added Montgomery, and I know they like Montgomery. And they had these roles last year for their running backs where one guy was the hammer and one guy was the lightning. And I think that they've upgraded on the lightning, certainly as far as availability goes. And I think technically they've upgraded on the hammer too. And so both of these guys, I think, are going to end up playing all year long. You know, there'll be games missed here and there. Nobody stays healthy for 17 games. But I think Montgomery has a huge edge on touchdowns. Just looking at the track record of Gibbs at the goal line, both at Alabama and at Georgia Tech, and sharing at Alabama and Georgia Tech, makes me nervous to say, all right, yeah, they're just going to shove it all on his plate. Like, Montgomery's going to have to suck, which really isn't that far of a bridge to walk with Montgomery, because we've seen it before.
We always talk about capital and investment, right? So
this is when we're having our financial discussion.
They've had
good. I need to talk about my 401k.
They've had Montgomery on the roster now for a few weeks, right? Couple months or a month and a half. Something had to say, we have to go get Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, not wait for Jahmyr Gibbs. Go get Jahmyr Gibbs. And they said they would have taken him at 6. So they are in love with this kid. For whatever reason, and whatever role he's going to get, he is going to get the football.
We can guess why they love him.
Why?
Because he's explosive.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
they can use him in any situation.
This wasn't like, okay, they needed a replacement for a physical running back because that's what Jamal Williams was. And so, look, we all consider and say 17 touchdowns. David Montgomery's not getting that. They're probably not scoring 17 rushing touchdowns again. But do those 17 rushing touchdowns, however they, to the passing game, where they go, because Jared Goff had some bad luck last year. So that's maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns. Let's just say be realistic that ends up if it's just the exact same number. And I know I'm a
little confused. Total touchdowns from the running backs.
Those 17 rushing touchdowns that Jamal Williams have, where do they get dispersed if they're replicated? Right. So
a lot of them, I think, would go to Montgomery.
But I do think, and we've talked about this a lot. How many? Do you remember the number? Was it like 6, 7,
8? The Goff stat.
Yes.
8 passes down to the 1 yard
right.
line.
So
only one of them was followed up by a Goff touchdown.
Okay, so 8 of those. So let's say 4. Right. Just be fair.
Yeah. 4
goes to the passing game.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So we're taking 4 away.
Now we're down
to
from all the running back. Oh, but Gibbs could get one of them in the passing.
But that's
game.
what I'm saying.
But
is
so
like,
could Montgomery.
What I'm saying is Montgomery's ceiling is probably 10 touchdowns. I think if you want to say that's a fair number for a guy that's never done that before, to get to 17 touchdowns is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to come in. He's going to take a lot of those rushing downs. DeAndre Swift, like you said, availability. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry. So Gibbs is just as explosive, and you give him the health factor. If he stays on the field, he could be a superstar. So yeah, the one that I struggle with, like I like Dobbins better just because I think he's going to dominate the carries there, and an offense is going to get better. Rachaad White I struggle with. I have him right now ranked ahead of Gibbs because he's the solo actor, and Cam Akers. Those are the 2 that I struggle with.
What about James Conner?
Conner's behind for me because I just think that team's going to be terrible.
Me too. And I've got it Gibbs, White, Conner, and then Montgomery is ahead of Dobbs for now.
All right, on number 3 running back for you ended up being Achane or Charbonnet or what?
It's
for
rookies.
2023.
Yeah.
It's going to end up being Achane.
This is, by the way, not really going to talk Dynasty today. I'll let you guys do that tomorrow. But who's the number 3 rookie running back?
It's Charbonnet.
Charbonnet?
Yeah.
I'll take Achane.
Let me ask you about Achane because
I don't know if he gets a lot of playing time this year. That's the thing. Without an injury, which could easily happen.
We're excited about him, but he is small.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're talking about Gibbs being small, and Gibbs, I think,
we didn't even mention that.
Weighed 15 more pounds than Achane did, I think, at the combine, something like that. So we'll see how it plays out.
I love that fit for Miami, and
But
I hate the fit for Charbonnet. I hate the crowd in Seattle. The fit for Charbonnet is actually not bad.
Totally.
Right.
But Kenneth Walker could be blocking him. We just don't know how much he'll be blocking him.
Did they crack your top 40?
Everybody after the top 2 is in a bad situation. Yeah. Unless Mixon's gone and Chase Brown's the guy. Like that's the one that you can say. Or Kamara's suspended and Kendrick Miller gets an opportunity.
Something could happen to Mostert or Jeff Wilson, and that elevates Achane.
Totally, but you're talking about 2 guys that have a history there with the coach, and I don't see them completely disappearing.
Did they crack your top 40?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the wide receivers here. Addison, your favorite?
For 2023, yeah.
And how high did you rank him?
Number 1 overall.
In the 30s.
42, I'm seeing for Jamie.
You're not going to see mine. I haven't updated it yet, but he'll be up there.
All right, 42. Heath has him 28th. That's ahead of Calvin Ridley right now. Now, I know if Heath were here, I have a feeling he'd say, these are my projections. I'll go through the rankings and adjust after that. But right now, it's Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley.
Was that a snot wipe I just said?
No, it was an itch.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Calvin Ridley. No, I'm fine. Calvin Ridley.
He also dropped Jefferson, as I'm looking at.
Did he?
Yeah, as a receiver ranking.
Jamar Chase ahead of Jefferson right now for Jefferson is not going to be impacted by Addison unless Addison has incredible rookie season. Who else is going to catch passes for them? It's going to be very concentrated. Yeah, that's the guy who I think is going to suffer.
I agree with that too, but he's still going to be there. I had a hard time
keeping him at the 3rd tight end.
Oh, he's not going to be the 3rd tight end.
Yeah, you'll get him out of there by then.
It's hard. Everybody else behind him stinks too.
That's true. That's why I said that. It's going to be a big debate. Who's going to be number 3?
I think Addison belongs in the mid-30s. You'll draft him as a low-end number 3 receiver. But I think he's going to be like 75 catches, 900 yards, and 6 touchdowns his entire career, as long as Jefferson is healthy in Minnesota.
Would you rather have a Steelers receiver or Addison?
I think there's more upside with the Steelers receivers.
Deontay for sure.
Okay. Would you rather have
I stopped picking
Michael Pittman or Addison?
Pittman.
I'd rather have Addison.
Okay.
I don't like what's happening in Indy for Pittman and Pierce.
I think we'll see Pittman make more plays down the field.
What's the highest? I'm sorry, I don't want to spend too much time on this. All right, the other wide receivers. Any other rookie wide receivers? We're doing when's the mock draft?
Tuesday.
Okay. How many of them are going to get drafted in the first 10 rounds, top 120?
I think Addison does. I think
Mhm.
Smith-Njigba does. I think
Zay
Flowers
is gonna,
does,
yes.
and Quentin Johnson, maybe.
So I'm going to give you guys
Just because people are getting, you get excited about new options.
How much? Who leads the Ravens in receiving at wide receiver? I think I asked this I don't know when I asked this, but who's the best wide receiver on the Ravens this year?
Zay.
I would say Zay is the best wide receiver on them, but I have a feeling you're going to see Odell Beckham get 4 starts.
And Bateman?
I think Bateman's the biggest loser of the group.
Yeah.
All right. We didn't do quarterbacks. We did them last. Tight ends? Any tight ends? Any rookie tight ends?
I mean, Kincaid's
significantly high?
I think Kincaid will end up being a top 12 tight end just because of where he's playing and what his role will be.
He's not my favorite, though.
Oh, that's interesting.
Laporta's my favorite. Yeah.
So I struggle with Laporta because I love his ability as a pass catcher. I don't think he's that far off. I think he's a little slower than Kincaid, but I don't think he's that far off. But is there a target crunch in Detroit?
Not the first 6 games.
Not the first 6 games? Okay. I can buy into that.
You think he's going to have an impact in the first 6 games of his career? It's pretty rare for a tight end.
I don't think impact. Look, none of these guys are top 12 guys.
You have him 15.
Yeah, none of these guys are top 12 guys. It just takes them too long. The best of the best of the best even struggle.
We've seen it over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean Pitts with the touchdowns certainly struggled.
Yeah, I mean, look,
but that's where I think Kincaid is going to have a lot of success. Just they throw so many touchdowns.
They do, but again, he's got a numbers crunch with Diggs and Davis and still Knox there. I mean, they're not taking Knox off the field. They're going to run more 2 tight end sets. He is not a blocker. Knox is a blocker.
Right.
So
how does that affect Kincaid? They're using Knox as a blocker.
It impacts.
It means he gets more targets.
This was another guy that depressingly had to take out of my top 2. It was Khalil Shakir. I was excited for his opportunity this year, and I don't think it's going to materialize because he's going to be a big slot is what's going to happen with Kincaid. So I think that's where Kincaid has an opportunity. But again, I just think is he going to get you have really lofty expectations for him?
No, I have really low expectations for most tight ends.
Gotcha.
So I will put the guy because this is basically because Dawson Knox has been a top 12 tight end per game 2 straight years. So I think, and his production's been horrible. He hasn't even gotten to 600 yards, but he's had enough touchdowns to get top 12 per game.
Okay.
I think Kincaid can maybe get to 850
but they're different
yards.
Players, though.
No, I don't even think he can get that high.
No, he's a much better player than Knox.
But
a much better receiver than Knox.
Totally much better receiver than Knox.
Yeah.
But again, it's where he's coming from on the field.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, though. I think it's a good thing. Like, if they're just going to use Knox more as a blocker, and I do think he's coming off the field, Knox, because I think if they're going in 1 tight end sets on 3rd down, I think that's going to be Kincaid. So I think if
they're not using 1 to block, yes.
I think that it just gives their offense so much more flexibility from game to game.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's necessarily any consistency with anybody in Buffalo's offense other than Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
That's
Everybody
fine.
else,
That's fine. I don't need
huge
consistency.
question mark from week to week.
Your tight end 8 is not going to be a consistent player.
No.
Tight end 8 overall, not going to be a consistent
he's
player.
not going to be ranked that high.
No, but I'm saying I could see him finishing that high because it's not hard to finish.
He's got to get to probably 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm betting on his ability to get there
more
than Laporta's, more than Mayer's, more than Juwan Johnson's, more than David Njoku's. That's all it is.
Right.
It's a gamble on touchdowns. And I do think him being older maybe helps him transition.
What about the lack of experience? 2 years playing, mostly as the number 2 tight end at Utah, after being the number 1 tight end at the University of San Diego.
I don't know.
And only 1 year of high school.
That doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me.
Right.
He's like 40 years old. All right, quarterback.
Hopefully his back holds up too. I think someone's going to take a stab on Kincaid late in every single draft.
Who's your highest ranked quarterback of the rookies?
Richardson. He's top 10.
Agreed. He's
oh
10th
my
for
God.
Me. He's 10th.
Wow. And you think that he's just going to start week 1?
I think he's going to start week 1. And really it's just a bet on his upside with the caveat, Adam, that you're going to take another quarterback with him. And we've talked about how many solid quarterbacks there are that you can get in the later rounds, from Aaron Rodgers to Dak, Cousins, Tua, if you want to take Tua and ride that train.
That's very risky.
Russell Wilson. Yeah. Oh, I agree. But I mean, that's where all the upside is. And even if you miss on both those guys, you can go to the waiver wire and find somebody.
Just depends on your league. If everybody's taking 2, I don't think you want to go Richardson and Tua.
I mean, Jamie, you have him once. You guys both have him back to back with Deshaun Watson. Jamie has Richardson one spot ahead of Watson. Dave one spot behind Watson. I mean, I could never do that. I couldn't. Deshaun Watson, top 5 quarterback, top 6 per game, 3 straight years. Last year was a mess, obviously, but he can run too. He's Deshaun Watson.
If he can
fall on his
find that
face.
version of Deshaun Watson.
But
That's,
even the
and
best.
now I'm playing into what he's.
But when have the best mobile quarterbacks been good as rookies for fantasy? They haven't.
Watson.
Watson was one of those guys.
Well, he barely played,
RG3,
but he was no. But,
RG3 was amazing.
all right, that's a long time ago, right? But those guys
It
threw the
is.
ball well. Deshaun Watson, especially. I mean, he threw the ball. He threw so many touchdowns that year. Lamar Jackson wasn't really fantasy. It was not really that.
Well, he was
useful
a gimmick.
fantasy.
Right.
Yeah, that's 8 games.
Jalen
Kyler
Hurts
Murray
as
was
a rookie wasn't
no,
great,
he
but then his
made
first year
4
as the
starts.
starter, he finished.
There's a
top
big
12.
difference, I think, because
Right, and that's
only
what
made
I'm
4
expecting
starts.
for Richardson.
Kyler Murray was like borderline top 12. Justin Fields was awful. So
Yes, but it was also a terrible offense.
yeah, I mean, I understand ranking him 10th because it's almost like Trey Lance last year, right?
Yes, it's the exact
You
same
don't
thing.
take him as your only quarterback, but you know the upside.
Right.
All right, that's interesting.
Barely a top 100 pick, but top
Anyone
10.
else make your top 20 of the rookies?
Young and Stroud in that order, just behind it.
I don't think Young made it for me.
Young's 26 for me, Stroud's 27.
So if I were
you said top 20.
Jamie's mad at me for not doing the rookie draft tomorrow, but I'm starting.
What are you doing instead?
I'm on vacation. As soon as this show's over, I'm on vacation. If I were in the rookie draft and I had 101 in a super flex league, I would take Bryce Young over Richardson. And you guys would criticize me.
At 101.
But that's
Oh
because
no,
you
I would
wanna-
take Bijan.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
I would take
Right. So there's going to be some, and
Bryce Young.
this is an interesting subject because there are going to be some people that need a quarterback in a 2 QB or a super flex.
yeah.
And they don't want to take the risk on Richardson, but they can't afford to take Bijan. And so they're going to
Yeah.
go and they're going to take Bryce Young because he's the safest of those quarterbacks.
Right. And that's sort of a dynasty redraft thing. It's like, I feel like I'm sitting here and I'm telling you what to do with your dynasty team. If you miss that pick on Richardson, if he doesn't hit, that's a really bad pick in dynasty. It's one thing to do it in redraft. You can go to the waiver
I mean,
wire.
everybody did it with Lance.
Yeah. Right.
But Lance
So-
wasn't the 101.
So in dynasty though,
No, but in a super flex league, he was.
he was a first rounder
He
for
was a
sure.
top
I mean,
4 pick.
yeah, he was up there.
so
and
in
he missed.
dynasty, are you going Richardson or Young?
Richardson without a question.
But you see the
harder
conundrum
thing
there
to
is that
do-
there's so much at stake
Right.
with that dynasty.
It's
pick.
really tough to take
Jamie's
Richardson.
like, screw it.
I mean,
If-
that's kind of what
if-
fantasy is
if
all
he
about, is to go with the
hits-
upside.
If he hits, he's generational potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And
you
even
know-
if he's not generational, he can still be productive for fantasy.
Do you
for
feel that way
several
about
years.
Bryce Young? He's the number 1 overall pick here. He was
he's
great
tiny,
in college.
So
He's
small.
generational.
I think I'm
No.
worried about him finishing regularly as QB 10
Okay.
from year to year.
Okay.
And definitely this year, I don't want his receiving core scares the what out of me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
All right. I have no idea how long we've been on the air. It's been like 25 minutes or
In the
so.
corner, it says 23 minutes.
Oh, okay. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the rankings movers amongst the veterans. Okay, Lamar Jackson's up. With DeAndre Swift, up or down? I don't even know. Is this good or bad for him? We'll come right back on Fantasy Football Today. And we're right back on Fantasy Football Today. Let's go to the rankings movers amongst the veterans here. Lamar Jackson signs the deal with Baltimore, and then they draft Zay Flowers in round 1. They've also added Odell Beckham. And then there's, I don't know, maybe Antonio Brown.
No.
Okay. Lamar Jackson is okay. Where do you end up for you guys now?
First of all, I'd like to announce that I'm signing with the Ravens also.
Congratulations.
I moved Jackson ahead of Fields. I'm debating him versus Burrow, but he top 4, top 5.
He's already there for me. He's 3.
You got him at 3.
I'm sorry, 4.
Four.
Four.
Yeah, 4. Oh, okay.
And Fields had a Burrow too.
Is it because of Zay Flowers? Is it because of Beckham?
It's because of all
everything.
the above.
I mean, I think I said it on a previous show. Once he signs his deal, I'll be all back in.
right, but that's putting him ahead of Joe Burrow. That's
There's more upside. At this position of all others, it's just so easy to shoot for upside. As Dave said, there's just a lot of quarterbacks. So
okay. Is there though? Because last year that was that fooled us, right?
You're right.
Last
There's a
year
tier.
quarterback stunk, and so
but again, it stunk, and yet there was a Geno Smith to fall back on. There was a Jared Goff to fall back on. So
But
yes,
those
the
guys
best-
didn't produce like Hurts and Mahomes. And
No, totally. Of course
Josh
not.
Allen.
Of course not. But Hurts wasn't being drafted as a top 4 guy last year. He was just outside that. Burrow wasn't. Burrow was just outside that. So Herbert flopped. mean, Lamar Jackson flopped.
Yeah.
So you have to understand there's risks.
Of course,
But if they hit to where they're capable of, you win your league.
Here's why I'm comfortable with Lamar. Number one, the long-term deal tells me that he's not going to get nervous about playing if he has a minor injury. Number two, I like the Todd Monken hire at offensive coordinator. And just look at the moves the Ravens have made this offseason. Adding Odell, drafting Zay Flowers with their first pick, and they went crazy for him. I mean, every team does this, but they just went nuts about Zay Flowers in the draft room when they took him. I think they're gearing up toward letting Lamar Jackson throw more, get him in a system that he's comfortable with. And they haven't added anything at running back, have they? They've kept it kind of the same. Well, they've got Dobbins, and then behind him,
Gus.
Is Gus still on the roster?
Yes.
It's good for Dobbins. I mean,
it's great.
I think it's really good for Dobbins.
It's exciting. Okay, so the other day I asked you, would you rather have Geno Smith or Dak Prescott? And your response was, come on. I know Geno Smith.
Ask me again.
Is it Geno or Dak?
Come on.
He was better than Dak last year. By the way, the last time I asked you this, they had not drafted Zach Charbonnet. They had just had Jackson Smith-Njigba. So they add Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then you got Dak with Mike McCarthy saying, I don't want to have the number one offense in football. I want to have the number one team.
He sort of, I don't want to say backtrack, clarified a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was asked at the owners' meetings about how do you replace Zeke, and he said, I think because he was trying to backtrack off of what he said in his previous press conference, I don't know if it was a pre-free agency press conference, whatever it was. It's going to be distributed in the passing game as much as it is Pollard.
Okay.
So I don't think Dak's going to have a problem.
All right, so Geno, I know people are going to take Dak over Geno, but where did he end up for you? And then I guess the last time we spoke about him was they take Jackson Smith-Njigba, but now they take Zach Charbonnet. So Jamie, with all said and done, what does that mean for
So Geno for me was in the Daniel Jones, Jared Goff grouping, right behind the Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers group.
So that's like right around 18th,
He
19th, 20th,
he was like 16, 17. Yeah, so in that range.
Where you got him now?
Now he's, I think, 14. And it's kind of like an asterisk because if Kyler's healthy, I'll put Kyler ahead of him just because I think, what he should be able to do. But I think, if you're just looking at it, because I don't think Geno's going to all of a sudden turn into a running quarterback. Rodgers, Cousins, Geno, I think those guys right there, all relatively same.
So Geno went from a quarterback that might get drafted in every redraft league to a guy that definitely will get drafted in every single league. And he's in that batch of QBs that you can pair with Anthony Richardson. You can pair with, if you want to have a second quarterback with Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson even. He's in that group, but he's toward the bottom of it. There's still more upside with Dak, with Cousins, with Tua than with Geno. But Geno's worth drafting for sure.
Any other quarterbacks make big moves for you guys?
Big moves?
Yeah, in the rankings? Or even small
moves? The only thing I can think of that might be considered, it's just a move, not a big move, is Kyler. If he's on the PUP list to begin the season, you can draft him and stash him, and then you've got a free waiver claim to go add somebody else. And if they don't trade DeAndre Hopkins, it's a pretty nice receiving core for him to come back to with a defense that's absolutely atrocious. Yeah. So he might have to throw a bunch when he comes back. And apparently he's on track.
Okay. Heath had Deshaun Watson up in his rankings.
Where do you put him?
He put him,
let me guess,
11th, which is
that's
Jamie
up for him?
I guess so.
All right. I got Deshaun 9th.
Their first pick was a wide receiver. They didn't have a pick until the third round. They took Cedric Tillman out.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's not bad. He was good in 2021 when he was.
It's a very good group.
Including
Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Cooper's still playing at a very high level, and the Joker's solid tight end. David Bell's not a bad fourth option.
Yeah. All right, let's go to running back. So with DeAndre Swift,
I guess DPJ would be the fourth option. Bell's probably not fifth.
I didn't get a chance to ask you.
Depends on Tillman's health.
DeAndre Swift, good or bad for his fantasy?
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. But before the NFL draft,
that's an
Is it? Let's take it back to Wednesday when they didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs.
So Montgomery and Swift, and now he's Swift and Penny. It's absolutely great.
Okay.
In that system.
All right. So let's talk. Where is he in the rankings?
So he's in that just outside top 24. I think a high end flex. He's got to clearly prove that he can stay on the field and stay healthy, but he's going behind still one of the best offensive lines in football. Touchdowns are going to be an issue because of Jalen Hurts. And look, whatever Penny has to offer, Penny might be better than him and may stay on the field more than him, but we know Penny just has a hard time staying healthy. But this is as great a landing spot as you could ask for. Just given the opening, given the system, he's in a contract year, so you got to hope the Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley effect sort of takes hold. he's explosive. He's great. He just has to stay on the field and be used, I think, in a way that can sort of highlight his abilities. And I think Philadelphia will do that. So I love this situation.
They can highlight his abilities. Does that mean that they give him a lot of opportunities? And I think that just comes down to how all the other running backs are doing in that offense. I don't think they're ever going to put him in a spot unless they're just short on talent where he's getting 15 plus touches a game.
It's an interesting
I think if
fit.
he stays healthy, he's getting 15 plus touches.
I don't know what his role is. Does he?
Well, what's the floor role? Is he's working passing downs because he can do that.
Yeah,
he
but
can be
that's
an
a
airback in that
terrible role,
offense.
and
And he's
that-
never
on
going to
that
score
team.
any short yardage touchdowns.
Fewest running back targets in the NFL last year.
Yeah. Well, I think they improved there with Swift.
Probably, but yeah.
I think he's.
I don't see why you
he's-
trade for him if you don't.
I think he's
but
worth the round 7 risk. I don't
No, he's
think
going to go before that.
he might, but I
this
don't
is-
know if
this
I'd
is
be
what I
ready
was
to go.
talking about. With
I don't know
the
if I'm ready to
talent,
go higher.
Where he's so good. I think he's so good,
He is.
and it's not hard for me to see him being a top 12 running
If
back.
he stays
Things
healthy,
break
he is
right.
going to obliterate round 7.
Yeah, but
If he stays healthy,
if
he
Penny-
obliterates round 3.
Quite I don't know. That's the thing because Sanders stayed healthy last year, and he's a good running back,
Yeah.
but it's just not.
So imagine Miles Sanders with receptions.
But that's I don't think.
But
that's
fewer
happening.
carries.
That's
you'd think.
if we're talking about ceiling, that's
Yeah, it's weird.
DeAndre
It's-
Swift playing 17 games.
Last year, it was a great offense for a running back, but it was a bad fantasy offense for running backs because they didn't throw to them, because Hurts scored all the rushing touchdowns, and randomly Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell would get a short yardage touchdown or something.
Giants game.
Yeah.
Always against the G-men.
All right.
He was 22nd in PPR points per game last year, Miles Sanders. You have to imagine on the ceiling projection for DeAndre Swift that he's much higher than that.
But we're almost when you say that ceiling, that's almost just assuming decent assumption that Rashad Penny gets hurt, right?
Well,
'Cause
I mean,
he
I think
can't
that has
hit
to be
his
baked into
ceiling.
the ceiling,
Well,
right?
it's also
With
again you
Penny
talk.
Bucket.
You talk
It's almost
investment.
fantasy land to talk
Invest-
about his ceiling because
in-
it's not going to happen.
They gave Penny pennies,
Yeah.
and so to go out and target DeAndre Swift when things went south for him in the draft.
But did you know? I think Schefter tweeted this. They traded a 4th round pick for him. If they
In
let him,
2025.
if they let him walk,
Uh-huh.
they will probably get a 4th round pick. As
Oh, it's a
compensation.
genius move.
Yeah.
It's a genius
So
move.
they, it's going to be a free.
And this is not the first time they've done this. They
so
did
it's
it
not a
with-
huge investment. That's my point.
Right.
No, but it's a bigger investment than it is for Rashad
Penny.
Penny.
Yeah.
They did this with Jordan Howard, coming off of the end of his rookie deal, and they did it with Jay Ajayi a year before.
Mm.
So he had 2 years left on his rookie deal. So this is a path that they've actually followed before. It's had a lot of success for them.
Yeah.
I just think maybe they thought they were going to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe they thought that things were going to fall differently for them. Charbonnet, whoever was going to be in the draft. As soon as they saw that move, Howie Roseman, genius. Just go out and get somebody who's available that's got, again, huge upside. So I love this.
And paid nothing for
Right.
him.
So Pacheco is someone that Heath had as a riser. And would you rather have Swift or Pacheco? Because no competition added for him.
Right now, Pacheco, but it's close.
Agreed.
Who's catching the passes for the Chiefs out of the backfield?
Travis Kelce.
There's Tony.
Doesn't matter. You could say anything. Travis Kelce's catching everything.
Where did you settle on Ken Walker?
20 behind, right in front
Round
of Gibbs.
3.
Right in front of Gibbs.
Round 3.
22
Yep.
for Jamie and
No, don't even look at mine because it's
Okay.
not updated yet.
All right, so that's Rashad
Yeah,
White,
I won't take him in round 3.
Ken Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs. What do you think about that?
Say it again.
Rashad White, Ken Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs.
I would take him over White today. There's still really good talent there, and everything's improved in Seattle. The only thing that didn't
Including
improve,
the backup.
right? But I was about to say, you beat me to it. The only thing that didn't improve is his situation because they've got now 2 rookie backup running backs.
Yeah.
McIntosh isn't as talented as Charbonnet,
No,
and
he-
neither one of them are necessarily like
he's sunk him
blow
even
off
further.
the barn doors.
Heath
Explosive.
Sunku Walker.
Yeah, he's got him 26.
Yeah, I'm probably. I don't think it's probably. I'm definitely interested in getting both Walker and Charbonnet, and if I can get Walker in round 4 and Charbonnet in 7, somewhere in that range, I'll love that. I'll take the duo of Pete Carroll's running backs for the balance of the season. That's an RB2. Just got to figure out which one each week is going to be the guy. Walker will get the first chance.
David Montgomery, up or down?
Down.
Way down.
Well, okay, because he had DeAndre Swift to compete with. Now he has Jahmyr Gibbs to compete
right.
with.
So now he's got a healthier, just as explosive
All right.
passing downs guy, and that's if he doesn't get pushed out.
Ken Walker or David Montgomery?
Walker.
Walker.
Okay. How about Kamara or Montgomery? I'm not going to do any Kamaras because that's
Everybody's
Conner.
going to pass on Kamara,
James
and he
Conner.
might end up being the best value on
Yeah.
draft day.
Connor or Montgomery?
Montgomery.
Why do you guys like Rachaad White but not James Conner? Why do you have him so different? Yeah, that's a thing. That's a legit answer. But you can see the similarities because the Bucs might be terrible too.
And I don't know. I don't think they'll be as bad as Arizona. And what happens to Connor when the Cardinals are down 21-0 at halftime?
He catches a bunch of passes.
He could,
like he did last year.
Or they find somebody else to do it.
But they don't have anyone.
But they don't have anyone else. I mean, that's
not
the
right
thing.
now. They don't.
Right, but you can't hold that against Connor and not hold that against White. Could say the same thing.
That's true.
Maybe the Bucs bring in
That's
a
fair.
veteran. Let's see. The Chicago running back. So Heath had the Chicago running backs down.
And down or up?
He put them as down. I
think
see
Foreman's down,
Rashaad
but not
Johnson
Herbert.
Because
But
Rashaad Johnson?
they're gonna
Most
use two
fourth
backs.
round-
That's as simple as that.
Most fourth round running backs are not Dameon Pierce. They're Jahmyr White and Hassan Haskins. Like they just don't do much.
I wouldn't be surprised if Foreman's still their best runner.
Yeah, I hate to argue with Heath's rankings when he's not here. He has Joe Mixon up. So what do you guys think about Joe Mixon?
I mean, look, if he gets through June 1st and he's still on the team, you got to be pretty excited about it from what his production can be because he's still the lead guy on this team that's going to score a lot of points. So, right now, I think, at least I'll speak for myself, you're just expecting something to happen.
15th for all of you right now, by the way.
Because of everything that's been said, Duke Tobin at the combine saying, we'll see. Somebody else in their front office also saying, for now, I think, was the answer in terms of he's on the team. Zach Taylor, when I asked him, was a little bit more defensive, saying he's been great for us. He's in the weight room all the time, all this, typical coach speak. But, I mean, they did not draft anybody until the 5th round, and so as much upside as Chase Brown might have, and he's somebody that you should definitely be looking at in your 2nd round, maybe, but 3rd round if he's there for sure in your rookie only draft, because if he does get an opportunity this year, forget about whatever role it is, back up to Joe Mixon would be the most likely situation still on the team. If he shows anything, then maybe 2024 could be the guy.
At wide receiver, you guys have the Colts wide receivers as being impacted by this. They drafted Anthony Richardson 4th overall. They also drafted UNC wide receiver Josh Downs in the 3rd round. He's a smaller guy, 5'10", 175
He's their slot.
pounds.
He's their new slot receiver.
And they drafted actually a lot of offense, 2 offensive tackles, one in round 4, one in round 7, tight end Will Mallory out of Miami in round 5. So up or down for Michael Pittman, Dave?
I went down because I think that they're going to be able to run a little bit more. They will run more with Anthony Richardson. Why would they waste that element of his game? And Jonathan Taylor will be healthy, so he'll run a bunch. And I think Downs is going to take targets away. He's good in the slot, or at least he was at North Carolina. I would expect him to be that short area guy for Richardson to lean on moving forward. And that just means fewer targets for Pierce, fewer targets for Pittman. Pittman already wasn't a dynamo in the red zone like we think he should be.
Yeah.
Big physical wide receiver. That dude should be getting red zone targets every game. He didn't before. I don't know if that changes now with the new offense. But when they're inside the 5, he might be like the 3rd option, 4th option for them, besides running with Richardson or Taylor. So I'm really worried about the touchdowns, and I'm worried about the targets too. So down for me.
I just kind of left him where he was, which was outside my top 24 to begin with.
Yeah.
So he's just inside the top 30 for me. But I do think that this is a much better situation for his ADOT, for his downfield opportunities. He was just so bad because of how ineffective this entire offense was last season. And so now you have a guy that can put the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And he really never had that. Phillip Rivers at the end of his career, was probably his best quarterback in terms of that. But better blocking, better run game. We know how things break down when a mobile quarterback moves out of the pocket. And so I don't think Pittman necessarily loses from where his production could be. I think he just gets transfer a little bit different. I think yards will be better. I think catches will be down. I agree with Dave. I think targets are going to be impacted. But I think this is going to, and again, I'm banking on Richardson. So if I'm banking on Richardson, this is still his best receiver.
Well, that's the question. You're banking on Richardson, but you're banking on rushing totals from Richardson.
I'm not banking on Richardson becoming a 4,000-yard passer, but I do think he could be a 3,000-yard passer. And I think just given the construct of what this passing game looks like, Pierce, I think, is going to end up being a bust.
Everyone's a 3,000. Well, 3,000.
No, Justin Fields was a 3,000-yard guy last year.
Yeah, they had he's probably the only one. Maybe there were 1 or 2 teams that you think 3,500 because 3,000 is going to be one of the lowest in the NFL.
I don't think it's going to be much higher than that.
That's terrifying to me.
But unless he goes bonkers as a runner.
No,
Then
from
you're not
Pittman's,
gonna
from
care.
Pittman's
I
standpoint.
think-
he's
Oh, well,
terrible.
that's why
I think
he's
he's
no
a
better than the number
3,000.
2 receiver.
He's a 3,000,
Love him.
1,000 guy. I think Pittman is going to be. What numbers did you get for Addison? 70?
75,
Daniel
906.
Jones.
Yeah, I think he's slightly better.
That would
than
be
that.
a pretty good year for
I think he's
Pittman.
slightly better than that.
Daniel Jones was 3,205 yards in 16 games. Let's get like 3,400 yards
And what, 900
700. And if we add another game, 760 rushing yards or something. So
Was
yeah,
700 rushing yards.
he had 708 rushing yards
Right.
in 16.
So he's one of
games.
9 guys ever to go 3,007.
So he threw for 3,200 yards in 16 games. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to have as good of a year as Daniel Jones had last year from a passing standpoint.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So you're looking.
So that's
3,000.
really bad for Pittman.
But it's still a very incomplete. Like I like Josh Downs. You know, he's a guy I think that's going to have an opportunity because of Richardson's, problems throwing the ball from a completion standpoint. From an accuracy standpoint.
Yeah.
A short area target like this is going to help him. But I still think Pittman's leading him in targets. I think he's going to lead him in receiving touchdowns. And if he's better than the 3,000-yard passer.
Oh yeah, right. I mean that's the thing. I mean
Right.
we're assuming the worst. What about Lockett, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf? What did you guys do with those guys?
Drop Lockett, a few spots.
He's behind Pittman for you right
in
now.
PPR, yeah. Non-PPR, I'll take
Okay.
Lockett. Drop Mike Williams. He was a top 24 guy for me. He's just outside. And Keenan Allen didn't move. I'll go back to what I said the night that he was drafted. I don't think Keenan Allen gets impacted. Metcalf, I don't think really gets impacted either.
I agree about Metcalf. I agree about Keenan Allen. Metcalf down maybe a tad. You got to downgrade Lockett. We do that every year, and he ends up
Yeah.
outperforming it every year. So that's a dip to buy if we're talking round 6, round 7. Williams scares me because I think Quentin Johnson could end up being a better version of Mike Williams.
Yep.
So I've got all kinds of bust sentiment on Mike Williams.
Okay, so I'm
Like
looking
as
at
much
this-
as I don't like Pittman, I think I'll take Pittman over Williams.
I'm going to try to send this over to Schaefer. Maybe we can show the graphic. It's, if you want to take a look, it's the yards per target, minimum 200 targets from 2021 to 2022. And Tyler Lockett is number 1, and DK Metcalf is much worse. Tyler Lockett's averaging 9.9 yards per target, Metcalf averaging 7.4 yards per target. So
It's an age thing for me. I mean, just he's not getting younger.
but Jacob is just tweeting that DK Metcalf has been extremely reliant on target volume. I'm not going to send this to Schaefer's, never mind. But you're off the hook. But if JSN, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, takes away targets from both of them, based on what they've done recently in the last 2 years, it should affect Metcalf more than it would Lockett. But Lockett is going to be 31.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And maybe that's something that we need to do some more research on. I think that they drafted Smith-Njigba to be a solution for when teams take away both those guys. They didn't have a good third option last year. And now they've got a very good
Yeah.
one. That dude is going to be able to make plays after the catch like crazy. He gets open very easily. He's just very quick in his route running. And if it just comes to pass that every team plays like cover 2 against them and they're trying to dare them to throw deep, then Geno Smith will check it down a lot more. That'll hurt his efficiency numbers, but it'll be great for Smith-Njigba.
We should really reflect on the last almost 10 years of Seattle Seahawks football and how easy it has been from a fantasy standpoint, because they've pretty much never had a number 3 passing option, and they've more or less just gone with one running back. Right? They've been extremely predictable and pretty easy, and everything changed perhaps on Thursday and Friday. So
I don't know if they've been doing it that way for 10 years, at least with the rushing
does
game.
make you think, right? I mean, that maybe that we're overreacting, but I don't know how
know.
JSN doesn't have an impact on the passing game.
I'm just worried about volume being crazy good for him, and I don't know how many touchdowns. He might get 4 touchdowns his rookie year, but I would bet on that talent in Dynasty.
I'm going to take one more commercial break here. We'll come back. We'll talk about Dawson Knox. Just a few tight end notes, I guess. We'll be right back. All right. We are talking about rankings movers after the NFL draft. Dawson Knox. Who's your highest ranked Bills tight end?
Oh, Kincaid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Knox is out of the top 24 then? Or out of the
He's
top 20.
going to be definitely close to 24
And Heath had Irv Smith as a riser for the Bengals.
because they didn't add anybody.
Yeah.
Streaming tight end, if you like the matchup in week 1, Irv can
I
be your
just don't
third to last
know
pick.
how much better he is than what Hayden Hurst was a year ago.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, he's just a streamer. It's not. I'm going to
Well,
make
I mean,
Irv
again,
Smith my guy for the whole. I don't
don't-
know what. I just hugged myself. I don't know why.
I don't-
But like, I don't see Irv Smith being as good as Dalton Schultz or Pat Freiermuth at all.
No.
If you like the matchup in week 1 and maybe even week 2 for Irv Smith, then you draft him and then you stream
Keith
it.
has him 13th. For me, he's 19th.
Yeah, he's closer to 19th for me than 13th.
I'm assuming the answer is no, but did anything change for Evan Ingram as they drafted Brenton Strange in the
Not for
second
this year.
round?
No, not for this year, but Strange is interesting. He could end up being a pretty decent target getter in that offense. At 4 tight ends. Not somebody that's like dynasty relevant, like 3rd round pick in rookie only drafts, maybe.
Okay. Let me rapid fire some players at you that I didn't know if we would get to. We sort of did, but just give me quick thoughts. Rachaad Bateman.
Really don't want to draft him.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's more productive than we're going to give him credit for. But yeah, I think you got to look at him as the 3rd best receiver, 4th best option on the Ravens.
Yeah.
Some of these guys we did talk about, but Rashod Penny.
He lost value.
When do you draft him?
He's the 2nd Philadelphia running back I would take. But
Round
he's
10,
8,
9, 10.
I think
you
can get off to a good start with him.
You view him like you probably view Allgeier now. You view him like you view Devon Singletary now. Maybe Charbonnet. Those type of guys.
I'm hoping he gets me off to a decent start for the first month of the season, and anything after that is gravy. Round 8.
Khalil gravy. You a gravy guy? Turkey?
I'll
I'm
put
not
it on
really-
my
I'm not really a
turkey.
gravy
Yeah,
guy.
because sometimes the turkey's dry, and that's no good.
Well,
you got to
I mean,
do something
dry.
to spice it up.
If
a
the
little.
turkey's not dry, do you go gravy?
I like gravy anyway. So.
But I've never been
And
into
mashed potatoes.
as big as I am.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been into sausage gravy.
I don't think I had
I think it would gross you out.
it. Khalil Shakir, you talked about, is out of your top 200.
That's a guy that we're rooting for, but I don't think he's going to have consistency.
All right. How about the Bills? The Vikings. Alexander Mattison. I saw Dalvin Cook should be traded to the Bills, so I got that on my mind. Alexander
Bills
Mattison.
added running back today.
Yes. Today? Who?
Latavius Murray.
Oh, that's right. I did see that. Yes. And
Why get
ignored it.
Dalvin
I
Cook when
ignored
you
it.
can get Latavius Murray?
But Alexander Mattison is sitting here as the number 2 guy. They haven't added anybody. Dalvin Cook, a lot of trade rumors. So, Dave, your thoughts on Mattison?
Is he the same every single year? As long as Cook's there, he's going to be one of those guys that people will target as a bench running back
what if
who
Cook's
might
not
blow
there?
up. Oh, well, I almost want to wait until I see that happen because we've talked about that before. And this is the closest it's been to happening, but I still don't know if it's going to happen.
Again,
for now, round 10, and if he's the main guy, then we're talking about
the fact that they didn't like Mixon, they didn't add anybody, so that he's a winner, right now.
The Bengals did, though.
Wait a minute. The Vikings added somebody
in their backfield
in the draft.
Who they
McBride. We
Oh,
talked
yes,
about
they
McBride.
did. That's
and
right.
he's a rundowns back,
round
but he's
pick.
a great fit for their offense.
He's an XP guy.
Arizona wide receivers, Jamie. Thoughts on what we're looking at right now?
I still think the top 2 guys are pretty safe. Marquise Brown and Rondell Moore. So until we see Kyler Murray back, right now I'll probably say the 3 best pass catchers will be Brown 1, Moore 2, McBride 3.
And so you're not buying this whole DeAndre Hopkins isn't getting traded stuff either.
I think he's gone. If he stays, then it's a completely different conversation.
I know.
But I just can't see a situation where he's there and happy.
How about Cam Akers? The Rams, their first draft pick was 36th overall. They took an interior offensive lineman, Steve Avila. He was the first.
They got Zach Evans, though, didn't they?
Gosh, I'm sorry.
I think they did.
Not
that Zach Evans is a wonderful running back or anything like that, but that's somebody that could end up taking over for Akers if Akers gets in the doghouse again.
I honestly, I just don't care about running backs drafted and mostly in day 3, but maybe round 4.
I know. What do we care about
round
Allgeier and Pacheco and Damian Pierce?
Agreed. You're right. No.
We don't know what's
sometimes
gonna
it happens,
happen.
but
It
for
does.
the most
And
part,
last year
I would
it
say
happened a lot.
90% of the running backs drafted in round 6 or 7, probably even more than that, are not going to matter.
Probably.
So I'm not looking at Zach Evans as a guy that's a threat to Cam Akers. And
Okay.
I am just saying that
I'm just
offensive
saying
line was a huge concern last year. They went and they drafted maybe the best interior offensive lineman. He was the first one off the board in Steve Avila.
I don't know if he's the best.
I'm just saying,
he's
maybe
he's going to start for them. I think he's going to start for them.
He was the first interior offensive lineman drafted, so maybe he's the best. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Cam Akers' finish to 2022 was the best we've seen him look in maybe his entire career. And so he's healthy coming into this year, hopefully. And I think you draft him as a number 2 running back, even though the team's kind of dicey right now.
Treylon Burks. I don't know why I decided on him, but they still have Tannehill. They drafted Levis. They didn't really add much other than that. They did draft Skoronski, which was great. He can play guard or tackle. Treylon Burks.
I think he's a winner. Just has to stay on the field and obviously prove that he could be more consistent than he was a year ago. And look, that passing game was just an absolute disaster. Tannehill in and out of the lineup. Malik Willis just did not look NFL ready. So whether it's Levis starting, I think that might be a little bit of a downgrade for him just because of what the inconsistency could be there. But I think if Tannehill plays 16 games, I don't want to, use the conversation I had with Okonkwo a few weeks ago as the end-all be-all. But, he said this passing game does have a chance to surprise some people. And I think that's fair. Kyle Phillips got off to a great start, in training camp last season. And then he got hurt. He's actually a great late-round flyer just because, again, should be there, on the field quite a bit. But this is a group now that's going to, I think, ask a lot of Treylon Burks. Like it happened to catch my eye. Heath has him ranked, I think, 24th, which is very, very high. I'm nowhere near I
got him at 37.
Yeah, he's
right in that range for me.
He's late 30s, early 40s for me. But could be a huge steal if he does end up turning into the type of player we thought he could be as a rookie.
Yeah.
And an awesome guy to go and target in Dynasty after the first year bust.
No, he's got a lot of appeal. You just can't judge him based on last year. Their quarterback situation was so bad. Addison or Burks?
That's kind of where I was at. I think Burks ahead of Addison, but it's close.
I think I'll take Addison.
Okay. Got some emails real quick. fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. That's the letter I. fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. This is from Joey. What do you do with Travis Etienne in Dynasty?
You keep him. Start him.
Not worried.
We didn't really talk about Tank Bigsby and what he does.
We did. I don't think you're on this.
We did on Friday night.
Okay.
They didn't. Jamie and Heath didn't really think it was a big deal.
I mean, he could take over a short yardage goal line role and cost Etienne, maybe even between the tackles. But I still expect Etienne to be the main running back in that offense and to be used more in the passing game.
All right, this is from someone who said, no names, please. So give him a fake name and location.
Sylvester from Monterey, California.
Grade the trade, 12-team, half-point PPR, Superflex. Look at, he gives pick 101, 104, 105, 107, and 203, and a first-round pick next year. 101, 104, 105, 107, 203, and a first next year. It's a super flex. He gets Kyler Murray, DeAndre Swift, T. Higgins, TJ Hawkinson, Rachaad White, and Tua Tagovailoa. You are getting Kyler and Tua.
That's great. I'd rather have the pick. You could have Richardson at 101. If you want to take another quarterback, Stroud will probably be there at 104, if not Young. And if those guys aren't there, then that means Bijan's there, and you can get him.
No, you're taking Bijan 101.
Not Richardson.
No.
And you love Richardson.
I'm not
surprised
passing
you
on
said
Bijan.
that.
No way.
Well, you take Bijan 101, and then
And
you get a quarterback at 104. You get one of the
you can get two of them.
Potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And if not, then you get
one. Oh, because he has 105.
Right, he's got
too.
105 too.
So
So
he may get Richards. He may get Bijan and Gibbs and a quarterback.
Right.
Or Bijan
and two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So why would you rather have Murray and Tua? T. Higgins is the best player in that.
I think Tua and Kyler are very valuable.
Waiting for you to get to better. Yeah, but I mean,
it's a 2 QB.
The Cardinals. If I'm the Cardinals right now, I don't play Kyler Murray in 2023.
They will play them. They will play. You always do that.
If they're 0-5,
if I'm the Cardinals, knowing that I have all this draft capital next season, I'm just hitting the reset button for 2024. Get Kyler 100% healthy, and just put weapons around him galore. Because you're going to get another, hopefully, draft pick or capital for next year when they trade Hopkins.
And you have the Texans pick, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, so all you have to do is root against the Texans. Then you're fine. How about from Jimmer Cleveland? Dear Grant, Tay, Caleb, Trey, and Chad. Grant, Tay, Caleb, Trey, and Chad. It seems like these are Mr. Irrelevance.
Well, there's no Brock.
What is your current perceived value of Brock Purdy? Is the question. I have the 111 in a 12-team Superflex Dynasty League. I'm considering pairing the 111 with Brock Purdy to try to acquire one of this year's high-valued rookie quarterbacks. What do you think?
If you can do it, do it.
I mean, obviously, but I don't think anybody's giving up a top 5 pick because of Brock Purdy in the 11. Like if it was Brock Purdy in the 7, maybe Brock Purdy in the 6.
And he says,
I don't even know if people would do that because Brock Purdy could turn into a pumpkin this year and we never hear from him again.
What's the lowest draft pick you'd take in return for Brock Purdy and 111?
110.
Well, we just illustrate. I mean, if you get to 5, then you might get a quarterback.
So you can shoot for 5 and work your way
getting
back.
a quarterback or one of the top 2 running backs. I mean, that's the sweet spot to be.
I just don't think you'd have to find a manager in your league that's just crazy desperate for a quarterback for him to
like if you go back to the trade that you were saying, giving up Bijan and the potential of one of those quarterbacks. Forget about everything else. All the other picks after 1 and 104 and 105. So those 3 picks. You're giving up potential 8 to 10 years of superstar running back, right? If Bijan's healthy and produces like his,
let's say 5 to 6.
Okay, yeah, I would aim for 5.
Whatever,
that's still good.
Sure. And then one of those quarterbacks, which you like Bryce Young better than Richardson.
I like drafting him better than in Dynasty,
right?
Yes.
And Stroud maybe just as good.
I do like him better than Richardson, also.
So you have the potential of 2 of those guys. Like if you were to tell me right now, it was Justin Herbert, right, or Joe Burrow, or maybe even Justin Fields. Just to look at the guys that have the chance to be superstars at the quarterback position in the Superflex. Like that's the type of move you're trading Bijan for.
All right, we have a team name Sunday from Nick. A Mingo ate my baby. That's good. All right, good way to end the show.
Not really.
It's good.
It's a good way for you to end the show.
You cannot have the Mingo. How about that? So we're out of here for today. Tomorrow, Dynasty show with Heath, rookie draft. Wednesday, probably a mock draft review. Thursday, going to probably get an industry guest on. Big week for you here on Fantasy Football Today. I'm going on vacation. I will see you hopefully next Monday, if not next Wednesday or something like that.
I thought you're here next Monday again.
I might come in next Monday. I might. Yeah, I haven't decided. I'm on vacation. Remember, I haven't really taken a vacation in over a year. So let's let me have some fun. I'll see you in Disney, everybody. Have a good day. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.